There. Hey everybody, I'm Arthur with Innovative Journaling. This is lesson 5 in our ongoing weekly Wednesday workshop for making handmade journals. So the first thing I wanted to do, I got a question from someone and I'm going to read it to you and then answer it. Okay. So someone emailed me this morning. Marjorie did. And I don't know if she's on here yet, or if not, she'll probably get it in the replay, the answer. So the email went, I've been following your courses mostly on the replays for a few months. I purchased 2 of the small refillable journals and I love them. I have a big collection of leather samples that are just over 2.5 by 4.5 inches. I wanted to make a larger book about 5.5 by 8. Could I stitch 9 together on a home machine? How would I back it? Thank you, Marjorie. Can I send you a photo? Yes, you can send us a photo. Okay, so first of all, yeah, you could totally use that, all those different sheets. And what I would back them on is we use a heavy Turkish fabric, and that would be awesome for that. So what you want to do, Marjorie, when you're making yours is you want to cut out the template. Well, here. Cut out a cardboard template or something just a little bigger than the final size of the book. And I would recommend doing 5.5 by 8.5 inch sheet size. You can go back to our past videos to calculate your cover and for how many sections you're going to do in your book. But once you get your cover, your cover size, make your template a little bigger than your overall cover, and then cut your fabric to that size, and then just take your leather scraps and start pasting them on there however you want. Arrange them on first and then paste them on. And then once you do that and they're all pasted, the paste is dry, and we have other videos and replays on pasting. Once you get all that done, then you can cut your cover to the size it needs to be and send it to us, and we'll put on this nice perimeter stitch using our serger. So that's how I would do it. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you want to make your spine, and I think what she's saying is where pieces meet like this way. You don't want 2 pieces hitting this way on the spine. You want, if you're going to have 2 pieces meet, which you will with 4.5 inch pieces, you're going to have them meet this way on the spine. And remember, make it bigger than it needs to be, paste it, and then cut it down. So I hope that answers your question. And if people have questions, put them in the chat or unmute. Well, before I start my live part. After the live part, then just put them in chat and we'll get them answered afterward. So I wanted to tell you, I wanted to show you this. This is the paste we use. We get it from Baylor's, and this costs $12 a quart. If you go to Tandy and get the exact same paste, it's $35 a quart. So buy it from Baylor's. I don't get anything from them doing this. I'm just letting you know the best places to buy your materials. But this is the paste we use. And Marjorie, this is the paste you want to use. But $12 a quart plus shipping. It's great. Okay. Next on our punches, we're going to punch holes in the signatures. You see how, can you see these? How one is flat and then the other is rounded. You can move them closer here. This one's flat. This one's rounded. So that is, you want to get the flat ones. Now, I just bought like 10 of these on Amazon, and I couldn't find flat ones, so I got rounded ones. And they were $10. No, they were like $9, and shipping is free. So they're really cheap. But the stronger ones are the flat top ones versus the rounded top ones. Just saying. All right, let's get to our sewing. All right, here we go. Okay. So I got my headphones off right now, so I can't hear anybody, and I'm just going to go sew this up. You know, maybe I'll keep them on a little bit, volume really low, so I don't have that delayed hearing, and then somebody has a question in the middle of this, they can chime in. So the first thing we're going to do is punch our papers, and I don't know if you can see the holes. Yeah, you should here. See the holes in there? So we're going to punch our papers and match up the holes. So the part with 2 holes right here, that's the top. So to do that, to get it matched up perfectly, and I do have this in other videos, but I have a sheet of paper here that's the exact height of the watercolor paper we're going to sew in. I'm just going to fold that in half, and like this. And then I'm going to go over here and center it on there. Now you probably can't see the holes, but I can. And I'm going to mark right where those holes are. That's one. That's one. Boy, I can hardly see them. Let's flip this around. There, I can see them better. There. 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 Okay. So, and we know this is the top because there's 2 there. So on some stitches it's symmetric, so you've actually got to put an arrow to show the top, but on here you don't. All right, so now we got them marked. Next thing is to punch the papers, and then we'll sew this up. So take this sheet, fold it so your lines are on the inside. And this is the easiest and quickest way I have found to punch papers. There's all kinds of contraptions and machines and rigs and jigs and everything to do this, but this is what I found works the easiest. And it's really inexpensive. Okay, so you take this, put it in the center, get it all centered up there, lined up, top to bottom. And then the way I hold mine is I hold it with these 3 fingers and into my heel. The heel of my hand, and I grab it tight like that. These fingers are free. So I'm going to scooch up a little bit because my hole is more up at the top, and then I'm going to poke in the very first hole, or very first mark there. And see how I'm going up and down? You want to blow out your hole as big as you can. And I'll just continue on down. See, I've got my third hole. The 4th hole. You want to be careful. Don't put your finger on the other side of where the hole goes, because if you do, you'll poke it. Like, watch this. See? My finger's close, but I know where that is, so I didn't poke myself through because this is sharp. The needles aren't sharp, but this puncher is sharp. Once you get in the middle, spin it around and continue on down. Make sure it's lined up. And remember to blow out those holes. And so here's our first signature. And pick the signature you want in the front too. So I don't know if you can see the watermark here from the Fabriano paper, but this is the CMF. I'm going to put that first. All right, here's our next signature. And each of these signatures, check it out. This is a nice landscape canvas in the center of each signature. I know one thing that you artist drawer types like. I can't draw to save my life unless it's a bag or a book. You always like, especially urban sketchers, like these wide canvases. And so that center section is nice because you can put that fold out in there. All right. Keep punching. All right. Okay. Now, how much thread? So we take our thread and we're going to measure 6 lengths of thread. This is for a 2-section journal. Let's see if you can see the holes in there. Yeah, see? 2 rows of holes. It's a 2-section journal. Each row has a section. Okay, so remember last week for the single section journal, it was just 3 lengths. Here it's going to be double that, 6. And you go 1 inch over about. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not rocket science. And then I'm using the polyester thread. This stuff is a little slipperier than the wax linen. So once I thread up my needles, and these needles we use are darning needles. We get them from Tandy, and they're about, I don't know, 15 or 20 bucks for 100. You don't have to buy them in 100 packs. And the reason these needles are nice is because they don't, they're not sharp. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to sew up our first signature, and we start with the second hole. See that? From the outside of the paper to the inside. And then we're going to come out. So basically this is what you have. Just looking like that. And we're using blue thread because blue thread goes really great with this tree bark paper. And then we're going to take the other needle and we're going to do the same thing to the second signature. In the second hole and out the top one. Get it lined up there. There we go. And then I want to put them together like this and get them all even. So just pull on it. Now everything's even. So I make big tails when I use the polyester thread because this thread is really slippery and it will slip right out of the eye and then you got to rethread it. And that may even happen while I'm sewing it up here. Okay, now here's my 2 sections, see? I'm just going to put them against the book, put them against the cover on the inside, and you can kind of see if you close the book up, which one's going to match up with which. And so the one on the bottom, I'll just put in that hole on the left, on the top, because you want to put it in the same hole that it came out of. And then I'm going to do that with the second one. The top one goes in the second hole. Gina, could you let Robin in, please? And so here's what I have now. These are coming out of here. And I start at the right. So I'm going to push that back in the second hole, right through there, see? And pull the taut and then run it down to the next hole, right there, like that. So a lesson on pulling, how tight should I make it? With this polyester thread, it's so slippery. You can pull a little bit tighter than the wax linen, but I'm sewing from here to here, so I'm pulling from here to here. This is the direction you sew in, is the direction you pull in. All right, same thing with this other signature or section. Back into the second hole. Thanks, Gina. And drop it down to the next hole. And out the front. See, you look at this. You see how these are all floppy like this? Don't worry about that. It's a constant. You're always going to have pages flopping around. Don't worry about it. You just have to learn to deal with it. Okay, now that same thread I had on the left, I'm going to take it and I'm going to cross over and go into this one right here. So I'm coming out from down here, I'm crossing under this thread on the right. So you have that little X. See that? Or the diagonal. And then I'm going to put it back into this hole, and I'm going to come out this hole. So let's do that. So back in there. And find that baby. Sometimes you just got to cheat. Open up the book and look. There we go. But you see how this even happens to me. The paper just flops around. That's how it's going to be. Now here's another thing I did. I pulled this extra tight. You see this coming down here? It does that typically with the polyester thread. Just pull this thread tight. Gotta loosen this up. Pull this tight again, and that'll take up all that slack. This is particularly interesting sewing with those fold-out pages in the middle. Okay, now we've got this, right? So what we're going to do next is take our other thread, the one that's up a little higher and on the right side, and we're going to go over the first one and under the second one, just like that. And the same deal. Then we're going to come underneath here and on the way back over the first one and under the second one. And then we're going to go back in this hole and come out this one. You see how I keep my stitches parallel here? It doesn't really matter if they're parallel or twisted. I just like to keep them parallel. That is my own personal aesthetic. All right, I'm going to go back down here, come out, and here we are. Look familiar? See, these two can represent these two here. So all we're going to do then, keep this working with the same thread on the right side, and we're going to cross over to the left and go underneath both these threads, like that. Come back, go back in this hole. Let me cheat again here a little bit. Oops, sorry about the head. And so you have that, like that right there, and then we're just going to come down to the next hole, and there we are. Okay, now pick up the other thread on the left, the one that's higher up, and let's go over the first one and under the second, and hook both those threads underneath both of them, and come back this way over the first and under the second. And then I'll push this back inside of here and out there, and then comes back down there, and here's what we have. Yeah. Can someone remind me at the end, and I'll count them out. I forget. I mean, I think there's like 4, 8, 12 pages in each signature. This is watercolor paper, so it's a lot thicker than your run-of-the-mill paper. It's 140-pound watercolor paper. Okay, here we are. Now we're going to just take that same thread we've been working with on the left and cross under these two threads on the right, like that, so you get another diagonal. And come back in the book here, to the inside. See, sometimes you just gotta look in the middle and get your needle in the right hole. And there you go. Nice and parallel. And then come back down to the next hole. Cheat. There you go. So you notice now how we oops, how as we get more to the bottom of the book, pages are not flopping around as much. There we go, nice and parallel. Okay, now we're going to take our other thread and go over and under. Hook those two threads there. Oops. And over the first one and under the second one here, coming back. And then go back in here and come out over here. Oops. There, like that. And then, I mean, it's just the same thing all the way down. So you can make your book as long or as short as you want, and you're just going to keep doing the same stitch. So I'm not repeating myself here because this is pretty much the same thing all the way down. But you see the papers aren't flopping around anymore because the book's over half sewn. Except for those pesky fold-out pages. Oops, what happened? Oh, right there. Yeah, those pesky fold-out pages. I haven't sewn a book with fold-out pages in ages. Hey, that rhymes. There. Back down there. Take the other thread. Over the first one, under the second. UPS just came, so my dog's barking. Oops. And the last one here. Yay. Great. And I can finish it off here. So I don't know how many of you have been noticing how I watch or how I handle the book, how I hold it, handle it. But I'm always like this or like this. But I keep my hand up here so I can work between the signatures. All right, here we are done with one. Fold it over on itself, and then I go from right to left, go underneath that hook there, and then from left to right. This is my version of a square knot when you're sewing it up. And then 1, 2, and 3 times. And this is polyester thread. And this will come loose here because it's so slippery. So I'm just going to take a little dab of super glue and run it up and down there. And now it won't come out ever. Trim off the tail. And there's one. And now last signature over the first thread, under the second. Hook these two over the first, under the second, and back in the bottom hole here. That. And see that? It's upside down, but, and then do the same thing. This time we'll do right to left. I don't know if I did that first last time. And then left to right. There. And then 1, 2. Why do I do 3? I have no idea because my mom did it that way. Okay, let's open these out. Put a little super glue in there. And that's it. All done. Check out the stitch. And we use tree bark on this, and then we use the heavy Turkish fabric on the inside. And then we serge the edges. Okay. So, here's the book. And we have 2 minutes left. That's awesome. Let's turn up the noise here. Yeah, let's handle that one question first. How many pages? Let's count them. Oh, here, let me do overhead first. Count them out. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we've got this. So 6, 7. How would you count that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. How could there be 13 pages in this book? One. How many sheets? 1, 2, 3. 3 sheets. That should be 12. That's 12. That's 12 pages. 12 pages. So 24. What kind of paper? I use Fabriano hot press, 140 pound. It was in the video I sent out 2 days ago, the midweek video. Any other questions? Oh, Gene, email me, service@innovativejournaling.com. I'll send you the video link. You should have gotten an email. Maybe check your spam folder or something like that, because those emails are automated. They go out right after you place your order. And then they give you links to the workshop and stuff like that. So I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know what the link is for that. Yeah, but they're on YouTube. So, yeah, I don't know what playlist they're in. Gene, if you got a 2-section journal, you just watch the replay of this video, and you're good. But email us, and I will get you that direct link. Anything else? Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, we're going to give it away. So what I want to do with this, I know Gina watercolors, and Gina helps us out like every week. And so I was going to give this book to her. How is that with you, Gina? She's the co-host. She lets everybody in and puts links in the chat. And yeah, okay. You like the hot press papers? So if you don't know the difference, there's a hot press and cold press. And then Fabriano also has something called soft press, which is in between the two. So the hot press are really smooth, like running an iron on it. The cold press are really textured. And the soft press, which Fabriano is the only company I know that does this, the soft press is in between. And we have that paper too here. We've got a lot of watercolor paper here. That's the really textured stuff. Okay. Hey, so you can feel free to stay on. I'm going to say goodbye and stop the recording, and then we'll take other questions. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. Next week, we're going to be sewing up this book right here, which I haven't fully punched yet. This is a 3-section journal. And we're going to take this and we're going to start adding a stitch on. And once you know how to do that, you can sew books as wide as you can imagine. You can even do it with this. Just have individual X's of rows unconnected. All right. We'll see you all next week.